Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'alhu iwaja. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Fa qala Allah ta'ala fil Qur'an al-Kareem ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa qul jaa al-haq wa zahaqa al-batil inna batila kana zahuqa. Wa qala Allah ta'ala اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم إلا الإسلام دينا. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم. أما بعد, it happened soon after the Muslims had conquered Egypt in 20 Al-Hijrah. A delegation of the local Coptics approached the governor, who was at that time Amr al-As, with a most pressing matter. They said, "O Amir, our Nile has a habit such that if it is not satisfied, it does not flow." So the Amir al-As asked, "And what is that?" They told him that on the 12th night of Poona, which is a month in the Coptic calendar, we need to get a virgin girl with the permission of her parents, dress her in silk and in the best available clothes, and then throw her into the Nile. Then it flows. Close quotation. The response of the governor to this strange and most bizarre request was immediate. He said, "This cannot happen under Islam, for Islam destroys all superstition and rites of ignorance that comes before it." Close quotation. So many days passed, then weeks, then 3 months passed. The river remained dry. Caught between a river that demanded a human sacrifice and the new rulers who would not permit it, the people started to begin to prepare to migrate. Seeing this, the governor Amr al-As wrote to the caliph of the time, who was no less a person than Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Umar wrote back, open quotation, "Islam does indeed destroy whatever came before it. I am sending you a note. Drop it into the river." Close quotation. The note was a letter written by Hazrat Umar to the river. It read, open quotation, "From the servant of Allah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, to the Nile of Egypt. If you are flowing on your own accord, then do not flow. But if it is Allah, the one Almighty, who makes you flow, then we will pray to Him that He will make you flow." And so it happened, my brothers and sisters. Amr al-As dropped the letter into the river, and the next morning the Nile not only started to flow, but overnight it had risen to 16 cubits or 24 feet in one night. Alhamdulillah, Islam had liberated the women in Egypt from the tyranny of a terrible pagan practice. The lesson for us is that human sacrifice in one form or another was common to all pagan societies, and Islam and its pristine teachings came to free societies upon societies from these terrible ungodly practices. One common factor we must realize is that a very large number of these sacrifices involve women. They are thrown into the rivers or lakes to appease their vital sources of life. Some were buried alive in the foundation of bridges to make the bridges strong, or they were just offered as sacrifice to the gods for the protection of the community. We all know, growing up, the game London Bridge is falling down, and the accompanying rhyme and reminders of the practices at that time of human sacrifice when the bridge was being built. The bridge had fallen down, and all the rebuilding attempts failed. Then suddenly, an idea came to them, a solution was found. Take a woman prisoner and sacrifice her, and as the rhyme goes, "Where has the prisoner gone, my fair lady?" Close quotation. Let us look at another moving incident of this practice in pagan Maldives. Islands, as given by the Islamic scholar and historian Ibn Battuta. Every month they would take a young virgin, a woman again, dress her up, and left her overnight in a temple on the shore to appease a genie. In the morning, the girl would be found dead and violated. A Muslim visitor by the name of Abul Barkat Berberi learned about it from his host, an old woman, whose only daughter had been identified for sacrifice. Abul Barkat was a Hafiz al-Quran, and he insists that do not send your daughter, I am going instead. In the temple, Abul Barkat kept on reciting the words of the Quran all through the night. And when they found the Hafiz alive next morning, the news spread like wildfire throughout the island. And within a month, the entire population had accepted Islam, alhamdulillah. My dear brothers and sisters, the women of yet another land had been liberated from the pagan tyranny by Islam. Christianity, we call it less clear. We see as their main belief the basic idea of human sacrifice by suggesting that Isa alayhi salam had died on the cross to atone for the sins of humanity. Later on, they changed the earlier offerings of human sacrifice by offerings of Christmas gifts to appease these gods. This is how Christmas gifts came into being. Today, unfortunately, Muslim shopkeepers sell and shoppers buy Christmas symbols worldwide, even in Muslim countries like Islamabad, Dubai, and Cairo. For a Muslim to engage in a known religious celebration of another religion is bad enough. But what is worse is the fact that here is another pagan celebration, Saturnalia as it is called, that has been changed in name and little else. The same idea exists with Halloween, which was observed 2 months ago. Halloween started in Great Britain with the ancient Druid culture. The Druid believed that witches, ghosts, and evil spirits walked the earth on the night of October the 31st. They would then go from door to ask for treats. These treats, my dear brothers and sisters, they were not candy, but they were victims, young virgins for human sacrifices. If the Druids received their treat, they would have a lighted lantern on the house as a sign that a sacrifice had been obtained there. Halloween, unfortunately, is nothing but a reenactment of an ancient pagan ritual of demon worship. Imagine, unfortunately again, 5-star hotels in Muslim countries arrange Halloween parties so that the rich can celebrate this superstition of a distant period of ignorance that at one time even included the practice of human sacrifice. And then in a few days, I think it's the same practice lies behind Valentine's Day. Legends have it that Valentine's Day began as a pagan ritual which was started by the Romans in the 4th century before Christ to honor the god Lupercus. Its main attraction was a lottery held to distribute young women again, to young men for entertainment and pleasure. And among some of the equally distasteful and despicable practices associated with these was a lashing and beating of young women by 2 young men. These young men were dressed in goat skin, and their instrument to do the beating and lashing was goat skin tongues smeared and soaked with the blood of sacrificed goats and dogs. A lash by these so-called holy men was believed to make these women better able to bear children. In the course of time, as far as Valentine's is concerned, the lottery was changed from women to saints, and the young men would emulate the saints whose name they had drawn. Then the day of Lupercalia was changed to St. Valentine's Day in 496 by Pope Gelasius in honor of St. Valentine, who, as legend has it, was a lover saint who himself fell in love with his jailer's daughter. Again, my dear brothers and sisters, Valentine's Day is embraced by many Muslim and Muslim countries. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted it You Muslims will follow them, Jews and Christians, foot by foot and yard by yard, and even into the go into an abandoned lizard hole for monetary gains or for nothing. You Muslims will go. Changing the name Lupercalia to Valentine's Day was only a play of words, for the paganistic moorings remain, yet another incident of polytheism and shirk. Today, my dear brothers and sisters, most of these practices have survived and have given currency in the West. Paganism remains at the heart of Western culture, but in a more polished and refined form. The drastic and florid rituals have been replaced, but the crooked idea behind them survived. We may ask, what was the idea behind throwing a virgin into the river Nile and other sacrifice offerings mentioned above? It was nothing but this, my brothers and sisters. A woman today must sacrifice her life for the economic prosperity of the society. And when women are freed outside the home and herded like cattle into offices, factories, and beauty pageants and shows, miss this and miss that, missing the whole purpose of creation. Today's modern secular materialism has come on the heels of the Industrial Revolution and has preserved the same idea. It turns out that women today must sacrifice their lives, their dignity, their security, not for Allah, not for their families, nor for the hereafter, but for the economic prosperity of the society. If it leaves them on the receiving end of advances and assaults which we're seeing every day, and make them playthings, so be it. If this destroys the home and family life, so be it. The goddess of economic progress demands their sacrifices, and they must submit. Today, the woman is being uprooted from her home, separated from her family, violated and used, and left to tend for herself. And they are expected to be grateful for this emancipation. This modern paganism, my brothers and sisters, is a sure path back to Jahiliyyah. And then, fortunately, because of the COVID epidemic, we do not have the carnival, which should have been this weekend. A shame to witness for yet another year, the innocent, to witness the bestiality, the depravity, and the licentious behavior with a total absence of modesty, morals, and dignity, as both members of both sex, male and female, sing to the lowest of the low, known as party animals or playthings, who behave worse than cattle, who are disgustingly selling themselves with loss of self-respect, self-esteem, and no shame for the economic prosperity of the community. Today, there's talk that this year carnival, they have lost over 200 million will be gone will not be garnered. And this is how they gauge their success. Our sisters, our mothers, our wives and daughters are put on display like cattle for sale. In addition, they are made the stars today, unfortunately, in myriads of advertisements, even in the most ordinary items like sweet and soft drinks to attract customers. Everything that is good, noble, and just has been thrown out. There are no more things like morality, shame, and modesty. The shift has been from the God-centered way of life to the man-centered way. Allah subhanahu has been voted out, and man has taken the role of Godhead. This is consumerism and secular materialism at its hilt. And what has it brought in its wake? Today we are seeing family breakdown, corruption in public life, mass manipulation, social engineering, interference with the natural processes given by Almighty Allah, same-sex marriages and practices, unwanted pregnancies and abortion, secular alcoholism, drug abuse, the rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer, and the erosion of all our cherished social and moral values. And what about the rape, incest, kidnapping, and all the murders and ghastly crimes, women being used as playthings just to be abused and disabused? All this is a way of life we are seeing today. This way of life wants us to believe and act like this is the life here and now. and there is no hereafter with accountability. All these celebrations, my brothers and sisters, which many Muslims consider most innocent, have pagan foundation. Even the celebrations of our birthdays is an act of paganism and superstition. According to one account, in pagan cultures, people would fear evil spirits, especially on their birthdays. And it was a common belief that evil spirits were more dangerous to a person when they changed their age. And then the family would surround with laughter and joy and light candles to send away the spirits. My brothers and sisters, no one in his or her right mind would ever think that Islam would be indifferent to practices steeped in anti-Islamic ideas with paganistic mooring. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, as he said in the story, the people who wanted to sacrifice the Virgin, Islam came to destroy paganism in all its form and cannot tolerate any trace of it in the life of its followers. وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. Islam is so sensitive of maintaining its purity and unique identity of its followers. And Islamic laws and teachings go the extra length to ensure this. Even take, for instance, our prayer. We are forbidden at the precise time of sunrise, its transition, and at sunset to eliminate the possibility of confusing our salat with the practice of the sun worshippers. And even the voluntary fast recommended on 10th of Muharram, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam added one more to differentiate our fast from the Jewish practice, where they only fast one day. A Muslim must be a Muslim for life. During joys and sorrows, during celebration and suffering, we must follow one straight path, not many divergent paths. It is a great tragedy that under the constant barrage of commercial and cultural propaganda from the forces of globalization and the relentless media machine, we Muslims, unfortunately, have begun to embrace Valentine, Halloween, Santa Claus, and the Merry Monarch at Carnival. Let us look back at the story at the beginning, Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. When he raised his hand for dua, this prayer was answered almost instantaneously. And the seerah is studied with examples of many of the Sahaba Ikram, who before they put their hand down, their dua was answered. Their whole lives, my brothers and sisters, revolved around striving to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They love Rasulullah more than anybody else in this world. They observe every one of his action, and listen to every word, remembering him 24/7. They obeyed each and every one of his commands. They never said, this is only a sunnah and it can be ignored. They never questioned why a command was given, looking for excuses. To the hill they live, the two verses, one from chapter 3, verse 33, Kul in kuntum tuhibbuna fattabi'uni, love me, follow Muhammad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I will love you and forgive your sin. And then in Sunnatul Azab, chapter 3, verse 6, Al-Nabiyul Awla bil Mu'minin, the Prophet is nearer to the believers than their own self. The Prophet came first. He had the first demand, the first lean on them. When we follow and mix our perfect system and practices, following the non-Muslims, we have become the easiest pushovers in the world. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, "Hubbud dunya wa khirayatul maut," you'll be loving this world and forgetting death. And liken us to be the bubbles and the froth in the ocean. And it is almost impossible for us to believe that in the light of what this khutbah was about and what has been happening in local events over the last few weeks, and the crimes and use and abuse and disabuse of women, and other unlawful activities, there has not been one single word that has come out reflecting the purity, the pristine teachings of Islam, even without condemning them. This is especially so with respect to the status and treatment of women. Why? Are we afraid? Alhamdulillah, we have enough scholars, we have enough wealth, that even if we have to pay for it, we should be in the newspapers paying for the Islamic stance with respect to status of women and their treatment, inshallah. Islam, my brothers and sisters, came to end all and every semblance of superstition, paganism, and their allied practices. And the clarion words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which I quoted it, وَقُلْ جَعَ الْحَقَّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. And then the verse of this day have I perfected your religion for you, and I've chosen religion. This is the fait accompli, the icing on the cake. Islam is perfection in thought, word, and deed. And this was revealed, this verse, Al-Yawma Akmaltu Lakum Dinakum, this was revealed during the Hajj on a Friday afternoon. Hazrat Umar verified this, and he said, I heard when this was revealed. And when he heard it, he started to cry. Hazrat Umar started to cry. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, why, what make you cry, Umar? He said, is that this, now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has perfected our religion, now that it is perfect, nothing remains perfect, and it will bound to deteriorate. And he cried. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, Sadaqah Ammar, Sadaqah, you are speaking the truth. This supports the hadith. Islam was strange in its beginning and will return strange once more. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, let us give glad tidings to the strangers who, even with their one molar teeth, will hold on to the sunnah. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu wattaqullaha la'allakum tuflihun. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. فقال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى كل ملائكة المقربين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي الإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا اليوم القيامة إن الله تخلف الميعاد عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى عز وجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة قامت الصلاة قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Kindly switch off your mobile phones, Jazakallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. الحمد لله الذي وهب لي على الكبر إسماعيل وإسحاق إن ربي لسميع الدعاء. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah rabbi min kulli zambi wa atubu ilayh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Man zal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi iznihi. Ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum. ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم آمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تبارك ربنا وتعالى يا ذا الجلال والإكرام اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا كاملا ويقينا صادقا وعملا متقبلا وعلما نافعا ولسانا ذاكرا وقلبا خاشعا يا رب العالمين يا أرحم الراحمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد يا رب العالمين يا رب السماوات والأرض يا رب العرش الكريم Ya Allah, we praise you and we thank you for everything that you have given us, Ya Allah. We thank you, we praise you for the guidance to establish the Salatul Jum'ah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, accept our Salatul Jum'ah with the congregation, Ya Allah. Forgive our minor and major sins, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Forgive the sins of our loved ones, those who passed away in the state of Iman and the state of faith, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, grant them Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Elevate their status in the life of the hereafter, Ya Allah. Put the nur and the light in their graves, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. Please make special dua for late Imam Mulana Mushtaq Ahmad Sulaimani Rahmatullah alayh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbul Alameen, Ya Allah, grant him Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, elevate his status in the life of the hereafter, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, make his grave Rawdatun min Riyad al-Jannah, garden from the gardens of the paradise, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Ya Allah, enlighten his grave, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Ya Allah, put the nur and the light in his grave, Ya Allah. Whatever the beautiful things and beautiful actions he did for your sake, for your pleasure, Ya Allah, accept it, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, all the deen-e-ishad, Ya Allah, all the preaching, Ya Allah, all the missionary work that he did, Ya Allah, all the imamat and all the teachings that he did for your sake. We ask you, Ya Rabbul Alameen, for the sake of his actions, Ya Allah, for the sake of his dawat-e-deen, Ya Allah, Ya Rabbul Alameen, on the day of judgment, raise him with your prophets, Ya Allah. Raise him with your pious and the righteous servants, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard, Ya Allah, let the breeze of the paradise pass through his grave, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. Ya Allah, help all of us, Ya Allah. Among us, whoever is suffering from any kind of sickness, we ask you, Allah, remove our sicknesses, Ya Allah. Remove our diseases, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. Grant us complete shifa, Ya Allah. Grant us complete healing, Ya Allah. Remove our difficulties, Ya Allah. Remove our problems, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, you alone we worship and you alone we seek for help, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. Show us the right path, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, protect us against all the minor and the major calamities, Ya Allah. All the disasters, Ya Rabbus Samawati wal Ard, Ya Allah. Protect us against this COVID, Ya Rabbul Alameen, Ya Allah. Put the barakah, put the blessing in our health, in our sustenance, in our rizq, in our family, Ya Rabbul Samawati wal Ard. Bless our parents, Ya Allah. Grant our parents, Ya Allah, long life with iman, with faith, with good actions, with good deeds, Ya Rabbul Alameen. And the parents, those who gone beyond, Ya Allah, grant them Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Allah. Accept our du'as for the sake of beloved Habib Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khairi khalqihi wa nuri arshihi wa zinati farshihi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahim.